Welcome back to my channel. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Coming back with another video. I'm gonna try to shoot. It's 11:30. Every time I go live, my phone ringing. Had to talk every time it be something. But anyway, I appreciate my new subscribers. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you so much for giving me a chance and opportunity. But we back at it again. Brandon Johnson, 6% approval rating, the worst mayor in America. The next one behind him is Karen Bass. Brandon Johnson is a black boule. He a part of the Divine Nine, gatekeeper for the Illuminati. That's why he keep putting the migrants before his own citizens. But we're gonna do a recap. So now this the latest news. We're gonna get in the latest news first. So he vetoed the curfew ordinance at the council meeting. Alderman override fails. Now you got these teenagers that's doing everything, and you gonna veto the curfew. They need to be home at a certain time because they keep up enough mess. Them YNs keep up enough mess. They need to be home at a certain time. Mayor Brandon Johnson officially vetoed a controversial curfew ordinance during Wednesday's meeting. The council attempted to override his veto with a 27 to 22 vote. The ordinance sponsored Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins, and he needed 34 votes from the aldermen to counter the mayor's veto. Johnson discussed his veto on the ordinance during a news conference. It was the first mayoral veto since 2006. Johnson was flanked by progressive aldermen. The proposed ordinance, which has gone through months of political wrangling and at one point appeared to be favored by Johnson, would have allowed the Chicago police superintendent to declare a curfew for 3 hours with just 30 minutes notice. Mm, well, I thought it was something else. I stand corrected. Now, but it was about the teenagers. Preventing teen takeovers was a large part of the rationale for the proposed curfew in the first place. After two in Streeterville turned violent, a 10 p.m. curfew has existed in Chicago for years. Opponents believe the proposed ordinance is unconstitutional. Not if you got YNs out there doing any and everything. Johnson had called the measure, which was revived in March, bad public policy that could lead to lawsuits. Everything he do with $1 billion deficit is bad publicity. He ain't did nothing but bought shame, downgraded bonds. He has nothing but bought buffoonery to the city of Chicago. Period. He is awful. And that's why he think that he getting back in. No, he not. They voting your ass right on out of there, Brandon Johnson. During his news conference, Johnson said his office is continue to pour into the city's young people. How? Because everything you got $1 billion deficit because you keep helping illegals. It doesn't mean criminalizing our young people, Mayor Johnson said. We need to stand firm and do what is right. And that means investing in our young people, in the ones that want to be invested in. That part. That is why this summer I'm so proud that we will hire 29,000 young people for summer jobs, a 45% increase since taking office. The superintendent sat at that meeting with me and asked me for this. He asked for an ordinance to be passed, and the mayor just denied that. This is unconscionable, and the city of Chicago needs to know when the next violent teen takeover that happens, when the blood sheds, it is on them. Surely is, just like everything else on him. He will not be elected back in. As the mayor taunted what he says is a major reduction in violent crime so far this year. No, it's not. It's still the murder capital. What they do is how they report the crime. If it's done in another area, they put that to the suburbs and don't put it to Chicago statistics. It's how they report it. So those statistics are a lie. Hoppers accused him of pulling a bait and switch. The ordinance was written in his office with his participation and with the superintendent's full input. He knows how to use this effectively. He knows how to use it constitutionally. The advantage to the curfew ordinance was that you could remove teens from the event without arresting them. Now that alternative has been taken away. Elders on both sides said Wednesday that while the veto override failed, there is still work to be done to come up with a solution to teen takeovers. What y'all need to do is come up with a solution on how you gonna fix $1 billion budget deficit and a $734 million school deficit with your failing schools in Chicago. That's what you need to be doing. Let me see what else is this idiot doing. Mm. Mayor Johnson proposes police raid reforms without ban on no-knock warrants. So the police ain't got to knock on your door. They can just bust in there and not warn you that it's the police at the door. Really? Mayor Johnson on Wednesday finally followed through on his promise to propose police raid reforms without a ban on no-knock warrants. That nevertheless appears to satisfy social worker Ananja Young. Young was handcuffed and forced to stand naked while a team of police officers mistakenly raided her home February 2019. 27 months ago, 4 years to the day after the botch raid that changed her life, Young endorsed Johnson in hopes he would deny then Mayor Lori Lightfoot a second term. Although Young had already received a payment of 2.9 million settlement from the city, Lightfoot and her city council allies have blocked the so-called Angelina Young ordinance, which goes far from police raid reforms imposed by Lightfoot. Johnson embraced those same, more sweeping reforms, which notably included bans on no-knock warrants and officers pointing guns at children. But the mayor's ordinance introduced allows officers to carry out raids without knocking with a judge approval if there's a threat of violence or imminent danger. Still, 42nd Ward Alderman Marie Hatton, who led the charge for the revised ordinance, said she and Young are both satisfied. That's because the mayor's ordinance involves a key provision championed by Young and Hatton, requiring Chicago police officers to give homeowners 30 seconds before barging in. What the fuck? What you gonna do in 30 seconds without barging in? Police, boom. That's 30 seconds. It is very rare for them to use a no-knock warrant. A no-knock is not what happened with Miss Young. Most of the issues we've seen is our knock and announce warrants, which is why we decided to focus the reforms on knock and announce warrants. Young was at the mayor's side during a news conference. It was proof positive that she was satisfied with the reforms he introduced. Mm, mm. Now, Chicago has a warning for Zohran Mamdani. That's the socialist for the lead mayor in New York City. That's not going to end well. Not with Trump in office. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was elected on a left wing agenda, but he is struggling to maintain support while governing due to his own errors and relentless opposition. Zohran Mamdani's shocking win in New York City Democratic mayoral primary calls to mind past progressive victories. Chicago Mayor Johnson shocked Chicago politics in 2023 when he obtained a place in a two-person runoff, denying Lori Lightfoot a spot. He then nearly beat his conservative opponent. But 2 years into Johnson's administration, his approval rating in the best is still under 30%. The last poll they did in June, it was 6%. Despite progress on issues like labor, crime, and housing, progressive allies on the city council are vocally criticizing him, and opponents are already gearing up to oust him in 2027. He won't win re-election. He's a newcomer, said Jamie Dominguez, an associate professor at Northwestern. His struggles have been preyed upon by national media. The Wall Street Journal famously called him America's worst mayor. Sure did. I did a video on that. Mamdani still has to win a general election in November, though he is the favorite. If he does, some observers have advice for him. Don't govern like Chicago's Johnson. Should no mayor govern like that, or Karen Bass out of California. She just as awful. Johnson's allies acknowledge mistakes but think he's been unfairly targeted by national media and wealthy opponents who have spent heavily to message against him. And Johnson's unpopularity isn't unusual for a big city mayor. It is unusual with a 6% approval rating. That is unusual with a 6% approval rating. Johnson allies think his successes have been rarely covered. What was his successes? Oh, ended the sub-minimum wage for tip workers and mandated 10 days of paid leave for workers. He reopened several city-run mental health clinics and increased funding for youth summer jobs. The city council approved his $1.25 billion housing and economic development bond and recently passed a plan to green social housing. They passed it because they had to. It still didn't eliminate the $1 billion deficit from him helping illegals. It still don't help with that. Okay, that's the latest news on that a-hole. Now let's go back into under his leadership, a Chicago woman loses home despite paying property taxes on time. They sold it for delinquent taxes. This is under Mayor Brandon Johnson. This is the lady. All her taxes paid up to date in full, and they still tried to sell her house. Robin McElroy, a Morgan Park resident, has shared her Chicago home since 2012, but now she's facing panic and frustration over a mix-up involving unpaid property taxes. Despite proof of payment since 2012, McElroy recently received a letter from Cook County Circuit Court stating her home was sold for delinquent taxes and she may owe 3 or more years back. According to McElroy, she's never been late on her taxes. She even showed CBS News Chicago proof of her payments. It's been a long-standing issue for McElroy since 2019. In Cook County, which includes Chicago and the suburbs, property taxes are due twice a year. Taxes not paid by the first due date in March are considered delinquent. McElroy's case is different. She was never late on her taxes. In 2019, a letter from the Treasurer Office explained to her that her PIN, a unique 14-digit code used for tax purposes, had been swiped with McElroy's next door neighbor's PIN on the assessor's website. The 2019 letter confirmed Ellery had paid her taxes correctly and stated there were no grounds to proceed with the sale. They actually told me don't worry about it. CBS News Chicago uncovered that while the 2019 letter flagged a pin swipe and recommended internal correction, that correction was never made. ultimately lended to her home being sold at a tax office. If that ain't a lawsuit, if that ain't a lawsuit, that's under Brandon Johnson, Chicago. Oh shit. What's forum, y'all? Like, share, subscribe, hit the like button, please. Let me get this stuff out of here. Okay, we did that. Okay, let's go here. All right, we done with that. Going to this next article. So that's Eric. Yeah, I'm gonna get on Eric Adams behind too. I'm ready for him too. But I hope he win over that socialist Madandi. I hope he win. Oh, this all Eric Adams. Oh, I got you. Hold on, y'all. I'm looking for this other article. Oh, I gotta talk about that drug king. Oh, so Mayor Johnson was one of the sanctuary city mayors called to testify in front of Congress. They told him a living a-hole. You hear what I'm telling y'all? They tore him up. And they said they was turning everything over to the DOJ. All right, so we done with that. Oh, I think that was it. Let me just make sure so, cause I wanna get him off my phone. I cannot stand that man. Now my son that came in here and said they let Diddy out. Is that true, y'all? I don't think that's true. Is that true, y'all? Y'all seen that? I ain't Google it to check. This who Brandon Johnson worked for, who hate America. All those Democrats he has funded. George Soros, Illuminati himself. Top branch. His son worse than him. And I got some. I'm gonna do some on George Soros with his found Open Society Foundation, Open Borders. Mayor Brandon Johnson and other mayoral administrations have hindered probes over fear of political embarrassment. Chicago's top internal watchdog is blasting Mayor Brandon Johnson and previous administrations for repeatedly hindering independent investigations into misconduct throughout city government out of fear those probes may result in embarrassment or political consequence to leaders. You might as well let them do the investigation. Your approval rating can't get less worse than 6%, because I'm sure you're down to 1%, Brandon Johnson. In a scathing 14-page letter sent late last week, the head of City Council Ethics Committee Inspector General Deborah Whisper said the law departments for Johnson and other mayors selectively impeded investigations by withholding records. That's illegal. That's a lawsuit. We have an open records law. And other mayors by withholding records, slow walking compliance with Inspector General's office subpoenas. That's a lawsuit. And demanding top mayoral lawyers be involved to attend confidential investigative interviews. Council's authority to unilaterally choose which city actors may be meaningful investigated. Whisper included several proposed changes to compel city attorneys to serve Johnson better. The issue seemed to span multiple mayor administrations but still must be addressed. Whether it's a low level employee or most senior, high profile employees across city government, everyone should be treated equally. Those investigations need to move forward swiftly and thoroughly. Whisper told the tribune that the alleged overreach of the law department is not a new thing. Hello. She said she could not say whether Johnson's law department is more obstructive than the department was under previous administrations, but said ethics need to be improved within city government and the efforts to restrict independent investigations undermine reform. No one should look at the government accountability landscape in Chicago and Illinois right now and think that the status quo is good enough. We cannot continue to do things the way we have always done. Sure, because it's a new sheriff in town. His name Trump. Whisper says she has tried to work through the alleged issues with the law department, but so far has seen little progress. What should happen when Mayor Johnson's go to Washington? I'm not gonna read yeah, it was awful, so I'm not what is all this? We talk about that. Okay, I'm gonna read 222. Well, I can't wait till I get on Ken Bass ass for real. Well, where is it? Hold on, y'all. I'm coming. I must have passed it. I got a lot. I need to do TD Jakes. Oh, here we go. I did pass it. Chicago Mayor Brandon has proposed borrowing 830 million, a move that has raised concerns about potential benefits to its allies in Chicago's teachers union. Damn, I need to put that with my unions. Let me write that down. Union. That's gonna go under my union. This proposal came just one day after Chicago's credit rating was downgraded to near junk status. That even mean that $830 million loan that he got over $1 billion deficit, the city is paying a much higher interest rate. and he's not going to get a lot of investors with a junk bond rating. While the mayor asserts that the funds are intended for infrastructure and capital improvements, the ordinance broad language permits allocations to various entities, including educational institutions. That's a $730 million deficit, pitiful, and not-for-profit organizations. Critics highlight that this could allow funds to support the CTU, Johnson's former employer, that's the teachers union, and a significant campaign contribution, especially amid ongoing contract negotiations with Chicago Public Schools. 1,500 teachers just got laid off, Brandon Johnson. You are pitiful. Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza has urged city council members to reject the additional debt, cautioning against exuberating city's financial challenges. And that's a fact. And then when what's that man who was over the city, um the school board, he ousted him because he said no, he wasn't gonna do it. And that was a big thing. And when you say he arrogant and pompous, he is so delusional. I have never seen nobody like him before, ever. Now, here we go. Brandon Johnson is now less popular than most communicable diseases. This article is in Forbes. They say he less popular than an STD. You can't make this up. That's bad. This is a editorial. I've lived long enough to know what it looks like when a politician truly craters in the polling. I'm not talking about Donald Trump after January 6th level on popularity. Those are rookie numbers. I'm talking about swooning, sickening Disney feeling when you see the bottom just fall out from underneath a pole and he simply no longer has many public friends. I remember George Bush after Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, because that made me call my senator. I was so mad about that. I cussed everybody out. Barack Obama after Obamacare went online. Karen Bass after the Los Angeles fire. That she terrible too. She just as bad as Brandon Johnson. And Joe Biden after the debate. My response is there, but for the grace of God, I go. But I'm all out of grace at this moment. Yes, folks, a new poll is out with a record breaking 6.6% approval rating. Mayor Brandon Johnson is now quite possibly the most unpopular man in Chicago, in America. I periodically mention how totally disliked Johnson is among Chicagoans who nearly elected him in 2023. But see, Chicago has a no recall law. He should have been ousted a long time ago with his arrogance and pompous ass. But I now realize that polls from January showing him sporting a nifty 21% approval were not a floor, and that there was a trap door ready for him. 80% of Chicagoans have an unfavorable view of him, up from 70% in a different January poll. And you really need to understand what it means when 80% of a city as democratic and racially polarized as Chicago is. His unfavorability and unfavorable rating among Latinos is early 2 out of 88. Among white voters, 5 out of 84. Among his base black voters, 16 out of 20, 67. No politician in Chicago history, I dare say, including several who were successfully recalled, have ever been less popular than Johnson. What's more interesting is how potentially 2027 challenges for mayor office rate among voters. Under no possible circumstance would Johnson survive, not with a 6.6% approval rating and an 8% re-election number. He would be bounced even harder in the first round of voting than Lori Lightfoot was 2 years ago. The question is who takes his place. Paul Vegas nearly won against Brandon Johnson last time, but it's important to recall that he still lost. That doesn't inspire confidence in a rerun. Either way, we have to suffer through 2 more years of Brandon Johnson. So I promise to do my part to drive his approval ratings down even further. Drive them down even further. You can't go. How low can you go from 6% to 1? I mean, I'm just saying, maybe we can get him to a 3.3% by spring. That is so sad. Nobody likes you, and he is so pompous. Now, this are Chicagoans losing confidence in Johnson, saying he's politically toxic. What time? Okay. Let me see. Does this say? The Chicago Teachers Union, what did they say? Oh, this is about his 6.6% rating. Only 14% of respondents expressed a favorable view, with 80% reporting an unfavorable opinion of Brandon Johnson. This was done by the Chicago Teachers Union. Damn, I should have kept this to go under my union. Damn. Chicagoans like their teachers, love their schools, but they do not like Chicago Teachers Union political machine. In fact, for every one Chicagoan with a favorable opinion of the Chicago Teachers Union, you have two unfavorable opinions of the CTC. You know what? I need to put this with my union stuff. March 8th. Okay, I'm gonna keep this. So they have become politically toxic in the city of Chicago, and voters are actually much less likely to vote for candidates who are back with Chicago Teachers Union. Not after the performance of Brandon Johnson, they not. And the mayor's office declined to comment on the poll. However, the mayor was asked earlier about the possibility of a teacher strike. Schools that are fully resourced, fully staffed with rich, broad curriculum that includes after school activities. That's what the people of Chicago want. That's certainly what I want as a parent. And we're going to continue to push in this moment. Yeah, but Brandon Johnson, you have a $734 million deficit in a for the schools and $1 billion deficit for the state of Chicago. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that. Oh shit. I didn't even go there. Damn. All right, let's get into some old stuff. This is my girl Jessica Flip Chicago Red. Flip around, love her. Like in the words of Malcolm X, who told us what? That the white liberal is the worst enemy to the black man. Yes. And it is coming up in here acting like y'all representing some social justice. Say that. But all along, all you're doing is trying to use black people to find a reason to make some money. Let me tell y'all something over there. With God, the Democratic Party is God. Abuse the black American. So come in here and go clean it up. Do just like R.A. Jr. Just do like that Tulsa lady. You better get up out the Democratic Party. Save yourself. Because if y'all don't, we coming for your seats. We ain't taking no from a bunch of people who have broken into the country and now have completely broke the city, have completely disgrace the United States of America. America is a disgrace. The number one function of a president
in chief. You tell me anything about a cop parent that looks like she can protect this country. And y'all settle here and then get overridden with a bunch of you. Y'all settle here and put America's hands in all kind of rules. And you telling me a tampon man that ran from duty.
Facts.
You don't know what race he is. Gonna protect this country.
Facts.
The devil is alive. Like in the words of Malcolm.
Facts. Jessica, I love Jessica. Matter of fact, I need to put this with my Kamala Harris video. Let me put that. So I gotta keep that one. She broke that down. This FBG Butter, he locked up now, but I love him.
That's been kind of big going on. It started in Colorado just the other day. I seen him talk about Chicago. They got this Venezuelan gangs going around, man. You know, I think everybody's seen the video in Chicago, man. You know, what's your take on that? Did you have a chance to see that? Check that out.
Man, I heard they took over 600. Oh my dig, I heard they took over the 61st Clubway.
Is that where that apartment was? Where they were talking about that they went to? There was a couple blocks from Old Block?
Yeah, that's 600. That's 600. That ain't the front, but that's like 600. That's King Drive, 60.
What do you think is going to happen if these gangs actually, like, try to get wild over there in Chicago?
Man, listen, man. The shorties out here slow as hell, gang. A lot of them just want to catch a body anyway. Some of like, did y'all come to the U.S. to die anyway? Y'all could have stayed over there in y'all country and fought y'all war.
Facts.
So one of the things that's been kind of big going on.
Did y'all come to die? I love FBG Butter. I do. So I don't know how much time he got. Okay, here we go. It's the Board of Education.
The board has the authority to do once they're appointed. You can ask that once they are appointed. What this board is prepared and willing to do is to do whatever is necessary to fix the structural damage that others created, while also building a pathway forward.
While all of that is going on in front of the cameras, behind closed doors, Mayor Johnson and his team are trying to figure out how to close a nearly $1 billion budget gap. He's slated to present his plan to alders on October 30th. Johnson has previously said everything is on the table, while the administration reportedly explores the potential for layoffs or a property tax increase. 28th Ward Alderman Jason Irvin, Ward Alderman Anthony Beal join me this morning to talk all of this. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Let me begin with you, Alderman Beal. Lots to cover here, but we're going to start with the budget concerns. With this nearly $1 billion deficit coming on, the mayor has already instituted a hiring freeze, and he wants to refinance the existing debt of about $1.5 billion. Controller Susana Mendoza compared the plan to Swiss cheese. She said it's full of holes. And how do we know where the money's going to be spent? Alderman Beal?
Well, when we look at what we've already done, refinancing.
I like him.
On this road before, we are not fixing our structural problem. We're kicking the can down the road again, refinancing what we've already refinanced 3 or 4 times already.
Facts.
We're not actually fixing the structural problem.
At a junk bond status. Higher interest rate they paying.
And
Oh shit. Oh shit. I hit the wrong. Oh shit. What happened? All right, well, I ain't gonna worry about it. We already know that didn't work. Let me see. Did P. Diddy get out of jail? My son said he did. Did y'all hear that? Okay, we almost there. Come on now, where's the data at? Come on, come on, come on. Almost there. Damn, I'm right there. Come on, where's the fifth? Where's the fifth? Hold on, y'all. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
A new poll reveals how Chicagoans are feeling about their mayor and the powerful Chicago Teachers Union. Long story short, they have a lot of work to do to get back into good standing with people. Political reporter Paris Schutz has the exclusive new results. Paris. Yeah, Terrence and Sylvia, the poll is conducted by reputable pollstar M3 Strategies. It shows the mayor, the CTU, and CTU president Stacey Davis Gates deeply underwater in terms of favorability. It was commissioned by the Libertarian Illinois Policy Institute, which says the pollster conducted a cross-section of Chicagoans, all neighborhoods and ethnic backgrounds, to get these results. Not good for the mayor. Poll sampled 798 voters from January 21st to the 23rd and asked them, do you have a favorable opinion of Mayor Johnson? 14% answered strongly favorable or somewhat favorable, 80% unfavorable, with the rest having no opinion. Also asked the opinion of the powerful Chicago Teachers Union. 28.8% said they had a strongly or somewhat favorable view of it, 60.2% unfavorable. And the controversial president of CTU, Stacey Davis Gates, who recently came under fire for comments disparaging special needs students, 18.5% favorable, 55.4% unfavorable, the rest with no opinion. Now, these results come as the CTU has floated the idea of going on strike next month. They still have not been able to reach a deal on a new labor contract with CPS. They have force in local politics, helping elect the mayor, several older people, and public officials across the board. But the Policy Institute says these poll results show their political fortunes are on the wane.
Chicagoans like their teachers, love their schools, but they do not like the Chicago Teachers Union political machine. In fact, for every one Chicagoan with a favorable opinion of the CTU, two have an unfavorable opinion of the CTU. So they have become politically toxic in the city of Chicago, and voters are actually much less likely to vote for candidates who are backed with Chicago Teachers Union money.
Now, both the CTU and the mayor's office declined comment on this, but the mayor was asked earlier today about the prospect of teachers going on strike. Here's how he responded.
Schools that are fully resourced, fully staffed, with rich, broad curriculum that includes after-school activities. That's what the people of Chicago want. That's certainly what I want as a parent. And we're going to continue to push in this moment to ensure that every single child across the city of Chicago has a well-resourced neighborhood school.
So the ideological makeup of this poll mirrors the way the city has voted in presidential elections. 14% of respondents identified as conservative.
Honey, they can't stand y'all. Okay, hold on. I gotta go back. Okay, and I'm right there. Shit, I did good. Okay, I don't know what happened to it. Let me go up. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Well, that's BMF. No, no, no. Oh, shit. I'm up BMF. Okay, let me do this and all that. How many minutes we got? We got about 10 minutes. All right. Thanks for holding up. Let me get to the next one. I must have deleted that or it's in my other phone and I'm not going. Forget it. Oh, shit. Did Diddy get out of jail? My son said he did. Do y'all know if he got out while I'm looking for this video, y'all? Okay, I'm here now. All right, let me see. Do y'all know? Well, it must be one of these old ones.
Governor J.D. Pritzker is making news today as he lays out what he wants in next year's budget. CBS News Chicago political reporter Chris Tye is here with a closer look at the numbers and the programs affected, Chris.
There's a lot of moving parts here, but let's get down to the top line details regarding your money as a resident of Illinois in this proposed budget. One, it is a balanced budget. Two, there are no new taxes. Three, it's the largest budget in history. But some programs, even those near to the governor's heart, have to go.
I have made difficult decisions, including to programs that I have championed.
Gone will be a Pritzker program providing health care to those in Illinois without legal status between the ages of 42 and 64. It ends July 1st.
Yeah, I guess so. You can't afford it. You can't afford it. Y'all spent all that money on illegals. The government didn't give you nothing back. Buying theirs.
Tightening for Pritzker critics.
That was a positive move because our focus ought to be on taking care of our own families.
Back.
Families, parents will need to have a talk with school-age kids with cell phones if the governor has his way.
I'll move forward with legislation requiring all school districts in Illinois to adopt a cell phone policy that bans the use of phones during classroom instruction.
Right now, about 10 districts statewide have a ban already on the books. The proposed budget, $2 billion more than last year, is a starting point that Republicans frame as
Dead on arrival. And it will look very different by the time the Illinois Democrats add all of their bells and whistles.
While not mentioning Mike Madigan by name, Pritzker linked the federal court system that found the former speaker guilty to the courts built to keep even the president in check.
Now, if you applauded that decision like I did, then I expect you to defend and applaud those same federal courts as they check this president in his quest for unrestrained power.
Pritzker, long a vocal Trump critic, said the new administration will hurt Illinoisans, from seniors to farmers, ending his 35-minute speech this way.
If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours.
I wish she could start suing y'all. For real. Y'all gonna be happy if Trump send out that that $5,000 stimulus that's in the works. Y'all gonna be real happy then. How many minutes? I got 8 minutes on this video. Well, here we go.
Came out, and even though there weren't fireworks that we might have expected, he does say federal funding is at risk if the mayors continue to obstruct. So you still have a problem here, don't you?
This is about safety, right? This is what they brought
This
up.
is about cutting federal funding and more.
What that is, but respectfully, that is safety. If you cut services from people, that does affect community safety. What we've asked this body to do is to join in the work that I'm doing in the city of Chicago.
They're not going to do it.
Are you going to give me a chance to finish my response, though? Okay.
Sure.
All right. It's okay. What I've said was that it's incumbent upon this body to support the efforts that I have put forth in the city of Chicago to drive violence down. Now, look, we have representation that's here in Washington. We're going to continue to make sure that our representation shows up for the people of Chicago. Here's my last point. The residents of Chicago, we send billions of tax dollars to Washington, D.C. It's incumbent upon D.C. to actually pay the residents of the city of Chicago their fair share. Go ahead, Craig.
As you say, Representative Luna said she's going to refer this matter and you mayors to the feds for investigation. What are your concerns, if any, about?
He is under investigation.
Against you and the other mayors.
Well, I mean, if that happens, our legal team, our corporate counsel will review those documents and proceed accordingly. But again, our focus is making sure that the people of Chicago are safe.
It seemed as if at times there were personal attacks. Overall, it did. Do you feel as if you walk out of here like, okay, I get what I did?
Well, as I said, thank you for the question. I'm always going to be who I am. The people of Chicago elected a husband, a father, a middle school teacher.
Honey, they regret voting for your ass, Brandon Johnson.
I'm not going to shy or cower simply because people don't believe in investing in young people, investing in mental health, investing in housing, driving violent crime down in the city of Chicago. So I promise that I would come here and represent working people. That's exactly what I did.
Mayor, how do you feel you did, and how did you prepare?
Well, look, it's a lot easier to.
He did horribly. They mollywopped his ass. Okay. This is gonna be the last one. Oh, that's it.
Layoffs and the fear of funding cuts. Besides college loans, the Department of Education distributes funding for low income and rural school districts, as well as aid for special education and students with disabilities. The Trump administration argues those functions can be absorbed in different departments. There are about 230,000 low-income public education students in Chicago, 60,000 with disabilities. Gutting the Department of Education may impact all those students because they depend on federal funding. So do millions of college students who get federal loans.
I think the likelihood of catastrophic failure that will severely hurt students, teachers, schools, districts, higher ed, just gets higher and higher every day.
Former Secretary of Education Arne Duncan says educators around the country are living in fear now that the Trump administration is following through on a promise to dismantle the Department of Education. Half the
As he
department was
should.
fired yesterday, a move Education Secretary Linda McMahon calls the first step in ridding the department of bureaucratic bloat.
We kept all of the people to make sure that the outward-facing programs, the grants, the appropriations that come from Congress, all of that are being met. And none of that's going to fall through the cracks.
But Duncan says McMahon's statement is false. He says she has decimated the federal student loan team, and he fears cutting the education department opens the door to slashing funds for low-income rural.
Chicago, they ain't giving you a dime. Trump ain't giving you a dime with your $734 billion deficit.
Well, I'm still very much humbled and grateful to serve the city of Chicago. It's been one of the great honors of my life, and I was, eager and thrilled to defend the beauty of our city and how we are investing in working people.
And Mayor, they talked a lot about supremacy clause, and this seems like a shift in the ideology from states' rights to federalism. What would be the repercussions for Black Americans if President Trump's administration and his House Oversight Committee succeeds, in their mission and what they're trying to do?
Yeah, well, look, as I repeated multiple times that the city of Chicago, we comply with local, state, and federal law. It's important that local law enforcement and federal agents collaborate and work together to drive crime down in the city of Chicago. I think the distinction here that that you are laying out is it's Pharisaic, quite frankly, in terms of how this party prides itself of local control, except for when they control the federal body, right? The House, the Senate, the judicial branch, the executive branch. That's why it's incumbent upon us in Chicago and cities like Chicago to continue to drive down on our collective efforts to ensure that our investments go right to our people, because there is a real threat, to your question, with the type of concentration of power at the federal level. Our education.
That's why you ain't getting a dime. Ain't getting a dime. Not a dime from the government. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Got it.
We're extremely close to settling the teachers union contract. So as a result, the budget amendment and related items have been withdrawn from today's agenda.
And we are back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go
I
and
like
hit that
this
like
is
button
Paralegal
below.
Institute.
Serious budget deficit
A new
day during the meeting.
Resolution adopting the amended annual school budget for fiscal year 2025 and EX2. Ratify the fourth renewal and amend the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Chicago for the Municipal Employees Annuity and Benefit Fund have both been withdrawn from the agenda.
Wow.
So before we begin, I'd like to state and first acknowledge our negotiations team this morning. They met and considerable progress has been made. Very pleased about it. We're extremely close to settling the teachers union contract. So as a result, the budget amendment and related items have been withdrawn from today's agenda. And these items will be brought back to the board at a later date for consideration. Very pleased with the progress. So steady the ship, and we hope to be able to come back very soon.
Wow.
Please mark your calendars for the next upcoming meeting. The next agenda review committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 9th at 10:30 a.m.
Go here.
So as we saw in the earlier video today, Mayor Johnson says that he has been
Well, I only got 3 more videos. Okay, here we go. This is Mr. Zip. Zach.
A very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do.
The executive order dramatically shrinks the agency and limits its power, although it stops short of fully closing the department, which President Trump acknowledged would take an act of Congress. The agency currently employs over 4,000 people and has an annual budget of over $250 billion. Although most of that money is simply passed on to local school districts. President Trump said on Thursday that services like Pell Grants, Title I funding, and resources for children with special needs won't be affected.
He's anxious for me to fire myself.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon spoke with Spectrum News at the White House Thursday night and said this was all about bringing education back to the states.
And Mayor Brandon Johnson was on CNN, and the lady asked him about the poor education system in Chicago. She ran some numbers across them and all this stuff, but when she asked him that, Mayor Brandon Johnson, being who he is, then he never answered the question. Anyway, man, y'all look at this.
But on the numbers we see in Chicago in 2024, it showed that fewer than 1 in 4 students who were in 11th grade were reading at the level that they should be. Fewer than 1 in 5 can do math at 11th grade level. And less than a quarter of all 3rd through 8th graders are proficient in either of those subjects. So what do you say to people who look at that and say, maybe President Trump has that the Department of Education is not working. It's not helping, at least in these matters, from where it's perched in Washington.
Yeah, cutting off resources is cancer. We know, and I can tell you this on a very personal note, as a beneficiary of public education, as a former public school teacher, as well as a mayor who trusts the public education system in the city of Chicago so much so that I send my own children to our public schools in Chicago. One of the greatest predictors of a child's educational outcome is essentially things that require investments like housing, access to good paying jobs for parents. At the height of unionization in this country, the achievement gap between Black and white students had almost disappeared. There's a direct correlation to investing in housing, investing in good paying jobs, as well as investing in our educators that ultimately closes the achievement gap. What this president is doing is taking us backwards at a time in which the city of Chicago and America are desperately called.
What's tomorrow? Oh. Yep, I'm getting sleepy now. I'm getting sleepy. But I'm gonna do this other one real quick. Oh, it's 12:30. Yep, I'm about to end this. But I only got 2
7
more.
members of the Chicago School Board have reaffirmed in a letter that they will vote no on covering a one-time pension payment to the city. That's the $175 million that I'm talking about. And while all of this is happening, y'all,
This is
you have
Paralegal
these types of
Institute.
scenes that are playing out on the streets of Chicago. And we are back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, people.
And I like him.
You know, it helps us.
Just saying that he gave the city council his word.
Sure, I know, Mayor, but
So you want me to answer that if the CEO lied to the city council, what's the contingency plan around someone being dishonest? Call on the name of Jesus.
And see,
Wow, that's your
Chicago
answer?
public school system, they're set to vote on this. And Brandon Johnson's like, yo, we really need that 175 milli to make our budget work. Well, there was supposed to be a vote on this on Friday, and that vote was postponed.
I'm sure it
So
was.
before we begin, I'd like to state and first acknowledge our negotiations team this morning. They met and considerable progress has been made. Very pleased about that. We're extremely close to settling the teachers' union. The items will be brought back.
Okay, that's the same one. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Let me close this. Get rid of that one. Yep, I'm getting sleepy now. Hold on, y'all, while I find this. Where's Brandon John? That's Alan Brad. Give me a minute, y'all. If I don't see it, I'm just gonna knock it off the list. Then I got one more. Okay, that's the same thing. Let me get out of that. We don't want that. One more and we done. And I'm gonna do one quick one. Yes, 12:30. Get rid of that. It's the last one for the day. Here we go. This is the last one.
We have a president right now who is obfuscating his responsibilities that should be very clear based upon the Constitution.
A few moments later.
But he will need a better tool to address a budget shortfall of $175 million.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm going to manage it because that's what leadership requires.
But how the mayor will manage it is a concern to many city council members. 18 have now signed a letter to the mayor calling for council authorization of any funding changes instead of unilateral action by the mayor's budget team.
To say that he's going to manage it because that's what he's elected to do isn't enough.
Facts.
Once we appropriate the budget.
And we are back, y'all. Thank you for watching today.
That's
Go ahead and hit
paralegal.
that like.
Shortfall of $175 million if CPS does not repay the pension money before the end of the month.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm going to manage it because that's what leadership requires.
But how the mayor will manage it is a concern to many city council members. 18 have now signed a letter to the mayor calling for council authorization of any funding changes instead of unilateral action by the mayor's budget team.
To say that he's going to manage it because that's what he's elected to do isn't enough. We are the ones who appropriate the budget. We are the ones who take his word at the revenue projections and the expenditures. And now we have a problem. And we need to all get in the room and figure out how we're going to move forward.
The mayor saying that without a payment from CPS, everything is on the table to address.
I'm with my city council. I've had to manage these crises before. The fact of the matter, though, is that we have these district entanglements with the school district and the Chicago Public Schools that we have to unravel.
Alders want one of the mayor's Springfield priorities to be getting lawmakers to formally move the city's pension payment obligation to CPS.
That should be priority number one, getting us out of this bind moving forward so that we're not having this annual financial crisis as to whether or not our newly elected partners over at the Board of Education are going to make good on the payment that they owe the citizens of the city of Chicago.
So far, the mayor has not responded to the aldermanic letter, and time is running out to find a solution to the pension payment predicament.
So now his own legislature is saying, hey, look, you need to consult us.
Their own front yard of where the real threat to our democracy lies.
So why do I dislike that kind of talk? Why does that disappoint me so much?
Shoot, it disappoints me.
So this is really no slight to him, but
he's awful. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We're gonna have a part 2 on Brandon because I got several videos on him that are all back at him again. Worst mayor in America. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.